All right, Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away. She's legendary Supreme Court Justice. And I've got to give you the details. She passed away of cancer. She was 87 years old. But there are three enormous parts of this story. Number one is her role in legal history in this country. She was a giant in legal principles and fighting back and not just women's rights, but all minority rights and all human rights and American rights in this country. Number two, obviously the Republicans will try to fill her seat before Donald Trump leaves office, and we must fight back against that under any and all circumstances. And so we'll talk a lot about that. And then number three, how it affects the election, because it is a massive curveball right in the middle of this election. So first, our heart goes out to her family. She was an incredible fighter. So she had cancer 3 times. She fought it off back in 99 and 2009. And then she had a resurgence in the middle of this year. She'd been fighting that. She had heart surgery. And she, like I said, she was 87 years old. She just would not stop. And she said, as long as I've got any life in me, I'm going to keep on fighting for the right causes. So she was a Jewish woman who fought for Muslims. She wanted to make sure that the Muslim ban did not go into effect. She fought for all of us. She believed in America and the idea of America. And if you don't know this, the reason that she was considered such a rock star and became so popular in her later years is because she was an absolute pioneer in women's rights and protecting them legally. And she, at the American Civil Liberties Union, she was the architect of a legal strategy to bring cases to the courts that would ensure that the 14th Amendment protections also applied to women. Now, we all take that for granted because we think, well, obviously, the 14th Amendment is supposed to protect all of us, give all of us due process. Why would it not give due process rights and equal rights to women? But back then, that was not the case. In fact, she herself suffered discrimination on a couple of counts. She graduated #1 in her class at Harvard Law School. She applied for a Supreme Court clerkship. For a person who graduated #1 in her class, that should be the easiest thing in the world. At Harvard Law, the top university for law schools, or the top law school in the country. And at the time, there was 500 students at Harvard Law. Only 9 of them were women. And she beat everyone anyway. And you know what they did? They denied her to the clerkship. And she had to go work at a lower level just because she was a woman. Then she got pregnant. She had to, at a later job, and she had to hide her pregnancy because back then, they either docked your pay or fired you if you were pregnant. And so she fought against that. And the legal victories that she won guaranteed the rights that we have today that, in fact, we take for granted today. So she might have been small in actual physical appearance, but she was an absolute legal giant. As Thurgood Marshall was to civil rights, in a lot of ways, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was to women's rights. But again, it wasn't just women's rights, it was all rights that she fought for. So her loss is a loss for the whole country. And irrespective of the election and the Supreme Court situation, it would be massive news. She's, the other day I did a list of the 5 living legends, and because those are folks I could interview. I couldn't have interviewed a Supreme Court justice, but nonetheless, that's a huge omission on my part to have left out Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There's no question she was one of the biggest living legends in the country. So her passing today is of enormous import on that alone. Now, let's talk about, actually, let me give you one more line about her before I move on to the political ramifications here. And she, by the way, she called racial discrimination a vile infection, which is exactly what it is. She said that her mission was to, quote, to keep our country true to what makes it a great nation and to make things a little better than they might have been if I hadn't been there. And boy, did she deliver on that promise. And I love that line, keep our country true. And so, now, political ramifications. Everybody knows Mitch McConnell, the Republicans blocked Merrick Garland for over a year when Barack Obama tried to appoint a Supreme Court justice, and their only justification was, we're only a year out from the elections, and so we're going to have to let the American people decide. Now, they've turned around and said, no, Don't care. We're giant hypocrites, record-shattering hypocrites. Don't care. Raw power. No, we're going to try to confirm a justice. So that is what Mitch McConnell said before she even passed away. She said, Mitch McConnell said, "Oh no, there's a slight difference." What the hell's a slight difference? Well, technically, the Senate and the White House are in the same party now. And why does that make a difference? Doesn't. Because you said you were blocking Merrick Garland because you want to let the American people decide. So how's that any different now? It's not a year before the election. It's 6 weeks before the election. So now look, guys, there's a couple of components to that. Number one, if you see anyone in the media that doesn't call that hypocrisy, they're not real journalists. They're not being factually correct. They're being politically correct. They're afraid of Republicans. They don't want to lose access to Republicans. They don't want to offend Republican readers or viewers. So false equivalency on this is unacceptable. You're completely and utterly disregarding any journalism. If you say, well, I can't tell the difference, is that hypocrisy? I mean, last time they said, make sure that you protect Americans and let them decide through the elections. And this time they say, screw the elections. Who cares about the elections? We're just going to decide right now. I can't tell if that's hypocrisy. Well, if you can't tell that that's not hypocrisy, you're not a journalist. Have the courage to report the facts. Have the courage to be objective about this, not neutral. Neutral is Republicans are lying and Democrats are telling the truth, but I'm going to be neutral and I'm going to pretend they both have legitimate and equally legitimate arguments. They do not. Being objective is saying, now here's what the two sides say and here's what the reality is. The reality is the Republicans definitely blocked Merrick Garland for far, far longer and they did it on the principle that Americans should decide through the presidential elections. So obvious hypocrites. Now, to the the Democratic Party. If they lose this battle, you got to vote every one of them out in primaries. What if the Democrats can't win a battle to not have a justice confirmed with 6 weeks left before an election or in a lame duck session? They're the most pathetic party I've ever seen in my life. So I better not see any equivocation from any Democrat. Look, this is a layup. This doesn't even involve any corporations. It doesn't involve any of your donors. In fact, you will lose massive donors, which is real human beings, real Americans who give small dollar donations. You will lose them if you don't fight with every ounce of your being and every fiber that you've got. Now, Chuck Schumer, your whole career will be decided on this. Your legacy will be decided on this. If you get steamrolled on this, it will go down in the history books as you being the most feckless, useless Democratic leader that we have ever had in this country. So I don't care by what means you use, what political means you use. So I know that they already have a built-in excuse. Oh, well, the Republicans controlled the Senate and they took away the filibuster. You think we don't know that? We know that. So Chuck Schumer better be staying up all night tonight. He better have already prepared every loophole, every rule, every Senate procedure there is to block this nomination. There are hundreds of them. And you try a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, it doesn't matter. And you will have the support of the country. You'll have the support of all Democrats. This is the one thing that unites us all. So in this case, it shouldn't matter if you're a corporate Democrat or a progressive. Let's go up and at 'em, up and at 'em. God, if they can't win this. God, if they can't win this. So, and there isn't that much time left. So we're going to see. But if any of us see the Schumers of the world start to equivocate and go, well, there's nothing we can do. Primary. Never, ever, ever let them run the Democratic Party again. So we'll see. Look, guys, they haven't done anything yet. And here, I'm not a normal analyst. I'm the analyst, the Democratic Party right now will be doing lots of like, oh my God, we have to be reserved because this day she died. I don't know how long they're going to use that. You don't have to be reserved. We love Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And you can say you loved her and you can say you missed her and then get ready for the fight. Get ready for the fight. Because if you're not ready, they're going to steamroll you. So now, the last part of this is obviously the ramification for the elections. And by the way, all of you that I see using YouTube Super Chat, all of you that are signing up right now by hitting the join button below in the video, I love you. Thank you. You make this show possible. You make this fire and passion possible. You fuel it. Okay, this is you guys demanding accountability, and we're honored to be your voice for that. So now to the election. So obviously a giant curveball. Now, normally what happens is, the Republicans go, yeah, that's it. Every pro-life voter, what they call pro-life, you go out there, you vote for us, you vote for us, you vote for us. On this issue alone, it doesn't matter that I had 3 mistresses and they're porn stars. It doesn't matter that I sexually assault women. It doesn't matter that I've never read the Bible. I think it's Corinthians 2.0 or whatever the hell he said on that day. It doesn't matter that I mock your faith. It doesn't matter that I mock veterans. Nothing matters. On this issue alone, you will all vote Republican. And you know what? They do. They do. And you know what Democrats do? They run. They run. Don't run away from the issue. Now, you guys want to know the reality? What percentage of the country is pro-choice? 70%. 7 out of 10. If you can't win on an issue where 7 out of 10 people are on your side in a democracy, well, then you obviously suck at politics. And again, you should resign or be primaried into non-existence. So lean into it. Lean into it. The Democratic leadership almost always acts out of cowardice. Oh, but what if the right wingers show up? Hey, knuckleheads, they're going to show up anyway. They show up in every election. They vote no matter what, and they vote on this issue no matter what. It's not like if you stand up strong for pro-choice, they're like, oh yeah, I wasn't going to vote, and I didn't care about this issue, but now that Chuck Schumer said that, I'm going to go vote. They're voting anyway. Your job is to get your side to vote. And good news for you, because if you're new to politics and you're wondering why I'm animated and you're wondering why I'm preemptively angry about this, because I've seen the Democrats the last 20 years. And when this issue comes up, they tuck tail and they run like cowards. You're nuts if you do that. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. It's not hard math. And look, guys, there's 2 elements to that. One is, it's a core human rights issue. We're not going to let them tell women what to do with their bodies. Are you nuts? We're not going to let them dictate what kind of rights we have as human beings. These guys claim that they're for small government, and they want a government so big it comes between you and your doctor, your most private decisions, what you do with your body. For God's sake, call out that hypocrisy. When have you ever heard a Democratic politician talking about how Republicans are in favor of big government that intrudes in our lives, that takes away our freedom? Our freedom. Freedom is not just for men. It's for everybody. So at any time a Republican says freedom, you say, goddamn right, women's freedom to do whatever they want with their body. And it is none of your goddamn business. And so on that principle alone, you should fight, even if you didn't think it was a winning issue. But by God, it's a winning issue. But yet I've seen them for 20 years run away. Not on our watch, not this time. Against this monster Trump, who has no regard for women's rights. Now that we have lost our giant who got us those rights in the first place, to honor her legacy, to win the election, and to do what is right, they must fight with everything they've got and make sure that nobody is confirmed for that seat until we have the election. And call it the McConnell rule. It's the McConnell rule. It wasn't our rule. It wasn't our idea. It was his idea. And under no circumstances do you let that happen. And then, guys, when you're campaigning, whether you're Biden or anyone else, if they ask you if you're in favor of Roe versus Wade, damn right I am. Are you in favor of, because they'll say abortion. When they say the word abortion, that's when Democrats get nervous and they get scared. Don't get scared. Say, yes, I'm in favor of a woman having a right to do whatever she wants with her body, including an abortion. It is not your business. It is not your business. We are Americans, and we believe in liberty, individual liberty, and you must give that individual liberty to women. If you don't, you are definitively against individual liberty. You are definitively against freedom. You're definitively against American rights. Now, I need to see just some of that strength from Democrats. Otherwise, they'll let the Republicans fill that seat and they'll lose the election. Do not be afraid of standing up for your own principles if you have them. Now, look, you could tell from this video, you could tell from the reaction that you guys are giving, you could tell from everything that progressives have ever done that we all believe in those principles and we all want to fight for those principles. And look at what we did. We call TYT Home of Progressives because we don't run. Well, actually, to be more accurate, we don't run from the fight. We run to the fight. And you guys power that. By the way, tyt.com/go is what allows us to do this show and allows us to fight for you and to have this strong voice for you. So it's my job representing you guys to push the Democrats as hard as I possibly can to make sure they fight on this issue, they win on the seat, and they win the election. Because if we don't, the court goes to 6-3 and kiss our rights away. And look, in blue states like California, New York, Rhode Island, Hawaii, abortion is going to be legal. But God help those poor women in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana and Kentucky and all those states. The rich women will have no problem at all. They'll just go to another state, they'll fly to Paris, and you think the Republican rich women aren't going to get abortions? You're nuts. They're going to get them instantly. And they're going to say it's different because I was under a difficult circumstance. By the way, I've covered those stories. Desjardins, a Republican congressman, he paid for 3 abortions from his wife and from his mistresses. And then he said, no, it's different because I'm a Republican and so I'm a good person, so those abortions were worth it. The abortions the Democrats have, they're terrible people, etc. So the rich will have all the abortions they want. But poor and the middle class, they'll be shut out. They won't be able to control their own bodies. They won't be able to control, and have that freedom. And so it's my job to push Democrats to fight on your behalf and to never surrender on this issue. If we go down 6-3 in the Supreme Court, it will take decades to undo it. Decades. And by the way, it's not just about Roe v. Wade. The corporate decisions like Citizens United, they've already enshrined and cemented corruption. They'll go further and further. They'll take away more of our rights as citizens, our voting rights. They took the voting rights away. You know who was the biggest dissenter and the biggest voice against the decision to take away the Voting Rights Act? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and now she is gone. And in our own limited way, on her behalf and on all of our behalfs, we have got to have the courage to fight back and to win this fight like she did. So it's a very sad day in America today. Just when you thought 2020 couldn't get any worse, here it is. But guys, we all stick together, we fight together, and I hope to God we win together on this issue. Now everything is on the line. And if you're a Democrat or a progressive or on the left in any way, shape, or form, or in the middle, independent, you're a woman, you want to protect your own rights, you want to make your own decisions about your own life, you must vote. You must vote. If you don't, it's not 1% hyperbole to say that we're going to lose everything. We might lose the democracy overall because of Trump, but on this issue and on the Supreme Court and on our rights, there is no question we will lose if we don't win this election. You have to fight. Be our voice. Be our voice in everything that you do, including voting. So it's up to us, guys. Let's go and do this together. If we don't, we let her down and we let the country down. We've got to fight together. Love you guys, and we'll see you soon. And rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You were the best of us.